Katu Veo Wastelanders, welcome to the Lost Holotapes channel. We continue to talk about the history of the Fallout world, settlements and factions. We ended the last episode on a positive note, on the destruction of Scorched Beast Queen. Today we will begin to talk about the resettlement of the Wasteland, once it became safe enough. Let's talk about the new settlers. 2103 year started, the intermediate period for the Wasteland between the destruction of the Queen of the Scorched Beast and the beginning of the events described in the Wastelanders DLC. The Scorched virus has stopped spreading. The Scorched Beasts began to gradually die out, and the Scorched started to turn into stone. People are returning to the region from the capital Wasteland, from Pete, from the south, from everywhere. Next events happened before October 23rd of 2103. Diehards are returning to the region under the leadership of Meg Groberg. Many raiders outside Appalachia, mainly from Pete, joined them. They settle on the ruins of the crashed orbital station and call their new home Crater. They no longer identify themselves with Diehards, so they changed their name to simply Crater Raiders. Actually, they are named simply Raiders in the game, and they are named like that despite the fact how scrupulous Bethesda is about the identity of the factions. That is ridiculous. Meg Groberg, after she founded the Crater Raiders with Raider Fishbones, removes her fellow partner from the leadership position, forcibly sending him into exile to the Ohio River Adventures camp, so that he leads only a small group of Raider fishermen and doesn't interfere with her ruling in the crater. Many Raiders do not like Meg Groberg. Someone considers her too soft, someone doesn't approve of the admission of ghouls and super mutants into the ranks of the Raiders. In addition to the crater itself, the Raiders organize a crater watchtower. Settlers. For a more apparent antagonism to the Raiders, the developers decided to allocate a new independent settlement organized by those who came to the region into a separate dedicated faction. But we will not call them like that. Technically, the settlers who came to the region organized a simple regular settlement on the ruins of the Spruce Knob resort called Foundation, not the actual distinctive faction. The settlement is based on the refugees from Pittsburgh and its leader is Paige. Not far from Flatwoods, an enterpriser Duchess, a former pre-war drug dealer from Welch, established Wayward Bar, which is also home for her and her partners. Two large groups also arrived into the region, which from the very first days of their presence became almost the main threat to all other newcomers. Firstly, this is a group of tightly beaten raiders, Blood Eagles. Bloodthirsty and merciless, they were heavily addicted to drugs and hooked civilians on them, forcing them to join their gang for new doses. They always have 3 ringleaders to be able to revive the gang, in the event of the death of one of them. Enlarged to monstrous proportions, they captured and re-equipped a bunch of remaining camps and posts from raiders and previously untouched locations. Among them are Summersville, Bloody Frank at Berkeley Springs, Watoga Underground, southern and northern camps of Cutthroats, Crosshair, Crimson Prospect, Reaper Alley, Hunter's Reach, Cliff Watch, Pixty, Killbox, Forest Camp, Widow's Perch, Rollins Labor Camp, The Sludge Work, Skullbone Vantage, The Vantage, Bounty, Central Mount Lookout, Seneca Gam Camp, The White Springs Lookout, Brianna Hawk's Cave, which they use as a buffet warehouse. Secondly, it is Mothman Cult, a gathering of religious fanatics who decorate interiors with grotesque figures made of tree branches and pieces of human bodies, worshipping the cryptid Mothman. They are also very aggressive towards non-cultists. They existed even before the war, although after the war they left the region, lay low and were revived in 2103. They settled in the following locations: the towns of Point Pleasant and Helvetia, Clancy Manor, Ingram Manor, Lucky Hole Mine, Blake Offering, Moth House, Sacrament, Kanawha County Cemetery, Johns Acre. Historical background. Point Pleasant is a real-life city in which there is a real-life Mothman museum. It was near this city in the 50s of the 20th century that people allegedly saw a creature called a Mothman, which is rooted in local folklore, as well as the Flatwood Monster, the Grafton Monster, and Wendigo. Another independent settlement appears, Anchor Farm. A group of soldiers who once helped the Secret Service transport gold from Fort Knox but found themselves outside of Vault 79 and later leaving the region returns and settles in Jeremiah's bunker, known in the game as the Ransacked Bunker. Also, the Blue Ridge Caravan Company comes to the region, which as the name implies specializes in caravan services. It begins to supply the new settlers of the Appalachian region with essentials and goods from other regions, mainly southern like Kentucky. They occupy the western and eastern entrances to the Big Bend Tunnel, organizing bases for themselves. As a logistics company, it existed even before the Great War. From the capital Wasteland comes the Sargentos gang, which settles in the Watoga Civic Center, becoming the first who, along with Blood Eagles, resettled Watoga after the Great War. The main activities of Sargentos gang were the slave trade and the organization of gladiatorial fights between slaves. In addition to Sargento, Edwin's gang comes to the region from the capital Wasteland. A small Tato cult appears in the region, appealing to the vegetable Tato, which is post-nuclear potato, as a deity. There was another strange faction of scavengers who settled in the radioactive amide mount disposal site. They are not associated with any quest or part of the plot. Probably with further updates of Fallout 76, their role to the story as well as the role of the Blue Ridge Caravan will be expanded. We have examined the factions that have repopulated the region. Now let us see what was going on between them before the game events of 2103 began. Settlers from the Foundation organized a small research plateau camp in the mountains a little south of the settlement. July. Reactor failure occurs in Vault 79. Many of the remaining Secret Service agents who survived the mutiny are ghoulified, many die from radiation. Only 6 people remain alive. Blood Eagles seize Twin Pines cabins from super mutants, but lose the White Springs lookout after an attack by robots patrolling the adjacent resort. In addition, the Eagles took hostage the Beckett brothers from Edwin's gang and get them hooked on drugs, forcing them to join their gang. At some point, Beckett Sr. begins to resist this development of Evans, but you cannot just leave the Eagles. He's been caged at Camp Rollins. For some reason, the cultists leave Helvetia, perhaps because of the invasion of the Scorched. Free radicals, whom we talk about only in the first episode of Appalachia, have finally left the prison of Western Maryland to arrive to the West Virginia Lumber Company of the city of Friendly, which they capture from super mutants. After wandering around the neighborhood for a while, they find the Anchor Farm and force them to tribute some of the supplies monthly so that they do not attack them. Mall Miners traders abandon Berkeley Spring Station and move into Rusty Pig Pub. A guy named Crane appears on the horizon, who stumbles into Wayward Bar and spreads rumors about the hidden treasures of Appalachia, and that he knows how and where to get it. Rumors attract free radicals and they come to Wayward for information. In principle, at this moment, the gameplay part of the DLC Wastelanders story begins. The player, in the person of one of the Vault Dweller, appears in the bar and enters into a conflict between Wayward and radicals. Further, in short, there is a chain of quest events during which a Dweller destroys the Eagles camp in Summersville, finds a false treasure of Robco, gives mercy to the Scorched Crane, and reconciles Wayward with radicals. Next, a still living overseer announces herself in the region, and finally we can talk to her leave. During her questline, the Dweller learns about the real Appalachian treasury, Vault 79, still closed and not looted. The Overseer suggests opening the vault and use the US gold reserves to somehow restore the economy in the region. I'm not economist, I have no idea how does it work. Nevertheless, before trying to get into the vault, it was necessary to find a team and also provide this team with protection from the Scorched virus. On the instructions of the Overseer, the Dweller invents a vaccine that responders were not able to finish. With immunity from Scorched, people could no longer be afraid of a new epidemic. With the dying colony and the inability to infect people in mass, the threat posed by the Scorched beast became less and less dangerous. The Dweller then contacts the Raiders and Settlers, provides them with the vaccine and helps them with their quests, the apogee of which was to be the choice with which team to go to open the vault. Looking ahead, I will say that I chose the path of the Settlers, so let us start with the quest of the Crater's Raiders. In the course of their quest, the Dweller recruits several characters for the possible opening of Vault 79, destroys the base of super mutants in Grafton Steel, and takes part in the gladiatorial fights of the Sargento gang in Watauga, from arena of which he has to fight his way out. After the commotion and possibly destroyed fences, a few but still dangerous Scorched went inside the civic center of Watauga and finished off the Sargento gang, having infected slaves and members of the group. Furthermore, a mutiny takes place in the camp of the Raiders. Raider Lev is trying to take away the leadership of the group by force. Of course, the player needs to suppress this rebellion in order to free the captured bomber. An outcast Raider group of Lev seizes the Poseidon power plant on the outskirts of Charleston, and there, in a battle with the Dweller of Vault 76, he dies. Now let's talk about the history of the Settlers. In parallel with how the Dweller established contact with them, the Scorched attacked the camp on the plateau. At the time, the vaccine had not yet been transferred, so the camp was destroyed. The Dweller offers the Settlers to open Vault 79. They didn't have a Scottish demo man, and for their plan they needed to dig a tunnel to the vault using a Prever Motherlode machine, an automatic drill and a rock collector invented by Hornwright. Trying to get Motherlode, the Dweller finds Penny Hornwright, a skilled engineer and the daughter of a mining magnate who could operate the machine. During the war, she became a ghoul and couldn't find a home for herself. For example, she was in Charlotte, North Carolina, where she was kicked out for becoming a mutant. Next, the Dweller needed to get a Chinese invisibility suit, which he does by attacking the remaining Chinese underground base, the Deep. Also, the Dweller recruits soldiers who have settled in Jeremiah's bunker, who relocate to Foundation. Right before the operation, there is a fleeting incident with the Raiders who took Penny hostage, but it doesn't prevent the plan from being carried out, and in the end the vault is opened. Inside, the group repairs the generator and saves the remnants of the Secret Service from feral ghouls, discovering an immersive gold reserve. They agree on economic cooperation with the Secret Service. As I understand, the Secret Service will control the turnover of gold on the market or something like that. In any case, Vault 79 will be considered as settlement onward. In principle, this is where the main storyline of DLC Wastelanders ends. However, there are still secondary arcs. Significant from the point of view of the plot is the war between the gangs of Edwin and the Blood Eagles, initiated by the Dweller. The Dweller received Beckett Sr.'s transmission and comes to rescue him at Rollins' camp. Released, Beckett gathers his former Edwin gangs and learns that the Eagles have kidnapped his little brother Frankie. The Dweller and Beckett, in search of Frankie, raid the Eagles' camp, eliminating their leaders. During the quest, Edwin's health deteriorates greatly and his niece Ronnie takes over the leadership of the gang. In the last act, the group attacks the Eagles' base in Vatoga, where they discover that Frankie, hooked on drugs, has become one of the leaders of the Eagles. However, he was managed to be pulled out of the clutches of the gang and sent to rehabilitation. In general, in the course of the quest, the following bases, camps and outposts of the Eagles were destroyed: Rollins Labor Camp, Sludgeworks, Seneca Camp, Crimson Prospects, Schoolbourne Vantage, The Vantage, Vatoga Underground, Brianna Hawk's Cave, Bloody Franks. The following camps and outposts of the Mothman cult were also destroyed: Ingram Mansion, Blake's Offering, and Johnson's Acre. There is another secondary quest related to astronaut Sophie Daguerre. She was sent into space as a part of a space mission before the war began and was plunked into a long sleep. It was also part of an experiment. The meaning of which was to establish a neural connection between a person and a computer. Roughly speaking, the computer received all the information that passed through the human brain without direct connection to it. In 2103, the ship that Sophia and her crew were in crashed in the Appalachian Mountains. Only she survived, and the Dweller helps her find her dead comrades as well as to break the connection with the computer, which was bringing Sophia unbearable headaches. In the course of the tasks, the meaning of which was find something somewhere, bring something somewhere, the Dweller destroys two camps of the Cult of Mothman, Clancy Manor and the House of the Moth, as well as the Nicholson camp of super mutants. This is where the events of the Wastelanders add-on end. The region can finally take a break from constant wars and conflicts, at least for the next 6 months, because the expedition of the Brotherhood of Steel is soon to come to Appalachia from California. This concludes the 5th act of the history of the Appalachian Wasteland. In the next episode we will finish talking about this wasteland for a while, concluding its story with the adventures of the newly arrived branch of Brotherhood of Steel and its battle against the new super mutant threat. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, subscribe, hit the bell and leave a comment. That will definitely help the project. Also check out the links below. They include the Google Earth map, the lore compendium and the text version of the video, which also has interesting statistics of settlements and factions. That's all for today. Don't lose your chance to repopulate deserted wastelands. Who knows how many treasures you may find there. See you in the wastelands, lone wanderers. Fishers out.